The greatest isekai anime of all time. True isekai fans should make sure they've watched each of these iconic anime, from start to finish. Isekai anime tend to be both imaginative and fun with loads of heart. The isekai genre focuses on characters that are transported to other worlds and must find a way to survive while usually completing some kind of mission or quest. The entire premise of the genre allows for action, introspection, personal growth, and fantastic animation. A good deal of anime that fall into the isekai genre are released every year, with some of them going on to be utter classics. The sheer number of anime classics that reside in this genre are too numerous to count, due to allowing creators to let their imaginations run wild. The isekai genre is fertile land for some of the strongest storytelling in fiction. What are the best isekai anime ever? In this video, I'll be showing you top 10 isekai anime from my list. But before we begin, be sure to drop the like and subscribe for more and more anime top 10 contents. Now without further ado, let's start the video. Cautious hero. The hero is overpowered but overly cautious. Isekai loves an overpowered protagonist who can blast through skyscraper-sized enemies while barely breaking a sweat. When the goddess Restarte summons Seiya to help her save a world on the brink of annihilation, she gets a hero who is only willing to dive into threatening situations when victory is 100% assured. Basically, this means a lot of training and taking absolutely no chances during battles. Cautious hero. The hero is overpowered but overly cautious is a mostly light-hearted adventure built upon the love-hate dynamic between Seiya and Restarte. Driven primarily by humor, the anime uses its protagonist's unique mindset to produce comedy gold. Number 9. Grimgar, Ashes and Illusions. On the surface, Grimgar, Ashes and Illusions seems like any other game themed isekai anime. Teenagers wake up in a strange world constructed on MMO tropes, and they must get by. The thing that separates Grimgar from most other shows is that while the world might pull from MMOs, it is not governed by their rules. Minor threats in other anime can be deadly in Grimgar, and death is not something that can be just waved off. Grimgar moves at quite a lethargic pace, focusing more on establishing its quite big cast of characters as it harshly eases them into its world. Number 8. Demon King from Today. Demon King from Today starts with its protagonist, the unassuming Yuri Shibuya, having his head flushed down the toilet, an ordeal that teleports him to another universe. Before long, he finds himself crowned as Demon King, a role that puts him right in the middle of the demon world's strained relationship with humans. This bizarre start reflects the rest of the show's direction, as Kukaramau often blurs the line between silly hijinks and dramatic intensity. Demon King from Today is a relatively old show that has somewhat slipped from the public consciousness since its original run. While it is by no means perfect, this 2000s isekai anime is generally decent, mainly thanks to characters like Wolfram and, yes, Yuri. The show does have some pacing issues and can get a bit formulaic at times, but it is worth a watch. Number 7. Fushigi Yugi, The Mysterious Play. Fushigi Yugi is a minor classic that, while far from unwatchable, has not aged especially well over the last 25 years. In this day and age, someone's appreciation for this show might come down to whether they have any nostalgic attachment to it, or if they are at least fond of older shoujo tropes. Mayaka reads a book that sends her to another world, and she quickly learns that she is a priestess who will play a pivotal role in conjuring a god. Mayaka can only complete this ritual if she is, well, a virgin. So quite a few episodes revolve around ensuring this remains a fact. containing a love triangle and a fully realized fantasy world that is fascinating to learn about. Fushigi Yugi is an engrossing series despite its share of frustrations. Considering its animation was not even great for the mid-90s, this anime could really use a modern adaptation. Number 6. The Rising of the Shield Hero. The Rising of the Shield Hero's reputation declined as its first season progressed, and the sequel only exasperated matters. Naofumi Iwatani is summoned to a fantasy world to serve as its shield hero, only for the protagonist to be falsely accused of a crime and then shunned. Although far from subtle, The Rising of the Shield Hero's opening few episodes are purposefully infuriating and gripping. They also suggest this is going to be a more mature and darker than normal isekai anime, something the series doesn't fully live up to later down the line. Even though this anime is divisive, those seeking a power fantasy style show can do much worse than The Rising of the Shield Hero. Number 5. Sunny Boy. Written and directed by Shingo Matsume, whose previous credits include One Punch Man, Space Dandy, and Bougie Pop, and others, Sunny Boy is an unconventional coming-of-age story that plays out like a more surreal version of Peter Pan. A group of students are sent to a strange island, and some of them develop supernatural powers. Naturally, this influenced the characters' dynamics and power balance, leading to quite a few harrowing sequences. Sunny Boy is unpredictable, disjointed, and not especially satisfying. The anime leaves quite a few questions unanswered, and picking up all the story's subtleties will require a second viewing. That said, the anime's ambition cannot be faulted, and this is evident in its presentation and ambiguous storytelling. Number 4. Gate. A gate to a fantasy world appears in Japan, causing an all-out war to break out between the invading empire and the JSDF. The latter manages to repel the opposing forces and, in the battle's aftermath, decides to send a group of soldiers into this new world. One member of that party is Itami, an otaku who eventually befriends a trio of girls who slot into fantasy archetypes. Gate is an entertaining anime that tells both a standard and reverse isekai story. Itami is nothing more than a decent protagonist, but he is aided by an absolutely massive roster of secondary characters. His harem is filled with lovable personalities, and they make the show what it is. Number 3. Yabo Kongming. The most pleasant surprise of spring 2022, Yabo Kongming takes a ridiculous premise and crafts pure gold out of it. The eponymous character refers to a strategist from China's Three Kingdoms, Tyria, and after passing away in his era, Kongming reincarnates as himself in modern Tokyo. If that was not strange enough, Kongming becomes the manager of an aspiring singer, Eiko Tsukimi, and uses his brilliant mind to help her grow her following as she pursues her dream of stardom. Yabo Kongming exudes positive energy out of every frame, with the two leads fostering a heartwarming relationship that brings out the best in both of them. Silly as the premise is, the anime takes its characters and the idol world seriously, in turn encouraging the audience to invest emotionally in Neiko and Kongming's journey. Also, the OP is incredible. Number 2. Ascendance of a Bookworm. There is nothing wrong with escapist fantasy shows. Anime serves as a great way to briefly leave behind reality and enjoy a wild adventure free of much in the way of tension. Isekai has proven to be ideal for this format, but there are a couple of shows that go against this structure. Ascendance of a Bookworm. Zurano Motosu is a book lover who finds herself reincarnated in the body of a poor and fragile young girl called Mine in a fantasy world with clear social class division. As she doesn't have access to books, Mine decides to make her own. Ascendance of a Bookworm tackles complicated themes in a refreshingly mature way, while also presenting a likable protagonist driven by unique desire seldom touched upon in anime. Number 1. Drifters. Bringing together a who's who of historical figures, Drifters is a bloody and gloriously outlandish isekai series that does wonders with its absurd premise. Essentially, Important figures from history are dropped into a fantasy world to duke it out as either drifters or ends. Drifters act as a resistance force against the end's oppressive regime, leading to plenty of awesome moments such as Tohisa Shimazu facing off against an insane Jeanne d'Arc. Drifter's short run does somewhat hurt its appeal as the story is far from complete, but the available content is top-notch.